Do you know what you're listening to?
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
You're listening to the Snowman in the Morning podcast.
Did you not get the memo?
Insanity ensues.
Can't wait.
Hey folks, welcome back. If you're looking for a brand you can support and sport, think K-Swish. Whether it's a hoodie to keep you warm or some shorts to keep you cool, show off the fact that you are a baller in your own way. Pick up your K-Swish gear by visiting facebook.com/K-Swish-brand. Time for the Monday Morning QB with Ryan Dunne. It's presented by Action247.eu. And what the hell happened in Pittsburgh?
Well, I guess you can see 17-point lead at halftime and just blew it. It's Frank Wright. I know he's after the game, he was talking about, bad play calling, which if you really look at it, it really did come down to play calling in the second half. Colts and both sides of the ball, because when you look at the Steelers for the past, 3.5 games, something like that, they were just these short slants, all these little short, stupid stuff.
Yep.
And then you're always wondering, like, why not just go deep? Why not just let Roethlisberger air it out down the field? And that's what happened in the second half between the Colts and the Steelers. Steelers were just airing out down the field, and Colts were just getting beat because their game plan was, okay, they're going to keep doing this short stuff. Now we're going to play against it. And that's what was working for them in the first half of that game. And then the second half, the Steelers just opened it up, and Colts were just not ready for it. I'm not going to blame refs for this game. There was one play where Claypool had my opinion was an offensive pass interference against Rocky Sin. That could have really been a pick six that could have turned the outcome of the game a whole lot different. Yeah. But I'm not going to hold them against that. Sometimes it's a bang play. Sometimes you just don't see it. But, Colts now outside looking in as far as the playoffs. They need help. This was a team that, and all they had to do was just get this win. They had a position.
Yep.
And now they are on the outside looking in and needing help. And as a Colts fan, I've kind of said this on Twitter. Now I have a very small taste of what it's like to be a Falcons fan blowing a big-time lead. Mm-hmm. And I remember, small taste, not a big one. It's a very tiny one. But, yeah, just not good for the Colts. And congrats to the Steelers. They got the division win now, so who knows what they're going to do next week.
Yeah. Speaking of AFC playoffs, let's go to the Chiefs. They won 17-14. So not many points scored in that game, not like I had hoped. But at the same time, they win. They clinch the number one seed. They get a first-round bye, and they're 14-1. So the Chiefs get to stay home during the course of January.
It's interesting, though, is that when you look at their last, 8 games, 7 to 8 games, they beat the Panthers by 2, Raiders by 4, Bucks by 3, Denver by 6, Miami by 6, New Orleans by 3, Falcons by 3. They're not winning like you expect. They're winning, which is good, but they're not blowing these teams out, or at least putting a larger margin of victory between all these teams. And I guess the Falcons, it just came. It was a missed field goal because that could have gone to overtime, and who knows what would have happened then.
Yeah.
But the Falcons missed a field goal, and the Chiefs are just. I don't know what it is about the Chiefs. I don't know if they're just maybe they're trying to open it up too much. I don't know what it is. Or teams are starting to figure out how to at least contain this offense to a point where they can keep the game close. Mm-hmm. But they're winning, and like I said, they clinched the first round bye. Next week they won't need to play anybody. They can lose that game, and who cares? But it's going to be interesting in the playoffs to see who they really get matched up with after the bye week.
Yeah, it is. It is. But the key for the Chiefs, they get to stay home for most of January, and they have a 2-game path instead of a 3-game path to the Super Bowl to try to repeat as Super Bowl champions. And the Chiefs were one of the teams I picked to get in the Super Bowl in the first place, because you can't deny Patrick Mahomes and what he has done, not only for the Chiefs and with the Chiefs, but for the NFL. Let's go to the Jets. How do you explain that? How do you explain?
Well, let's start with both.
How the hell do you explain the Jets beating the Browns and winning their second in a row? How do you explain that?
Well, let's look at both sides. So first off, obviously the Browns had a situation where 4 receivers were deemed COVID potential risk, so they couldn't play. And I mean, people probably don't know this, but I did offer my services to the Jets. You know, the last time I played receiver was back in high school in 2009. I actually, went on Twitter. I reached out to, not my service. I asked my services for the Browns, excuse me. No receivers.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, hey guys, if you need anybody, I did play against Sammy Watkins in high school. I beat him. And it's for a touchdown. I posted a picture. If people want to go check it out on Twitter, it's the picture of him on the ground. He's going for a touchdown.
Right.
But I'm not going to get into that. I offered, and Browns denied me, so it is what it is. It is what it is. They could have used me, but that's okay. Anyways, so when you're the Jets, and you know that the Browns can't have to run the ball because that's the only thing that's going to be effective, and they stop the run for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You're forcing now the Browns to throw the ball. And I guess the Jets, I mean, I don't know if they saw something on Trevor Lawrence that, like, they don't like or something, because you had a chance to go and get him. Now you're number 2, and my thing is, like, a few questions for the Jets. Do you really like Sam Darnold? And my thing is, if you really do, you got to trade away the pick.
Yep.
Because if you do like Sam Darnold, trade away the pick, because then there's no point in go get Justin Fields. However, if you don't like Sam Darnold, now go get Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, again, I don't know if they saw something against Trevor Lawrence, but Adam Gase is kind of like, hey, if you're not going to keep me, I'm going to make sure you guys don't even get Trevor Lawrence at this point. Who knows?
Right. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Jets are doing Jets things. Browns are doing Browns things. I don't understand. And I don't think I will understand from here on out. It was the Saints, as we go back to Christmas Day, beating down the Vikings 52-33. Everybody criticizing the Saints defense, and I'm saying why? Because you kind of know what you're going to get with the Saints. They're all about the offense. But if you look at this Saints team, they clinched the division for the 4th year in a row in a season where everybody was picking Tampa Bay, or almost everybody was picking Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers got their playoff spot, first time since 2007, as we go back through Christmas weekend. I said all along, the NFC South goes through New Orleans. No one wanted to believe me. They beat down the Buccaneers twice. They get Minnesota in their house. So at the very least, a wild card game is going to be played in the Superdome. Why don't people trust the Saints? That's what I want to know. Why don't people trust the Saints right now?
Well, let's look at that game between the Vikings and the Saints. And first off, I just gotta say, I get that the Vikings linebackers were all depleted, that no one was out there as far as their, like, true starters. But, like, I don't know if they ran, like, a tackling drill this week, or if they forgot to, or if they haven't done one since week 1, because the Vikings were just gosh darn awful at tackling. Like, I'm not saying that, like, Kamara is not easy to bring down. I'm not saying that at all. But my thing is just, like, you go, when you go to tackle somebody, you break down, you use your arms, and you try and get your body into a tackle. Like, stop with this shoulder stuff. Stop with this. Let me just try to hit my shoulder and just tackle. And so, going back to the Saints, I think people, I do believe in the Saints, and I think the situation that a lot of people are trying to go back to is Drew Brees. And I think the arm is, and I personally said this as well. There's something, my opinion, when I watch Drew Brees, I see he do this little, like, shoulder shimmy. Like, every time he's out there, like, he's, like, moving his shoulder. Yeah. Like, to, like, either, like, and I have a problem with my shoulder too, where I have to move a lot of times to kind of, to crack it or wherever it is to make myself make it feel better. And maybe it's something with his arm, but I think when you look at it, no one's questioning Alvin Kamara anymore, or hasn't been for a while. No one's questioning, as far as, like, I personally am not going to question the defense. I know the defense is good. There's nothing to question them about. And it's just, I think the one thing is, like, I know you and I talked about this about a couple of weeks back when it comes to Drew Brees and getting back in form. And I think this game against the Vikings was a good way just to get back into form. He had a couple picks, and honestly, he could have had more. There was some dropped interceptions by the Vikings And it was weird. Like this game, it felt like the score. Honestly, it does. I know it was only a 19-point win, which a lot of people consider a blowout. But I really thought the Vikings should not have even been this close. I really thought the poor tackling and everything the game should be a lot worse. But I think the interceptions kept it a little bit closer. But my opinion, you mentioned it, it's just true. The NFC now the playoffs, at least for the NFC South, it goes through New Orleans. And you did pick them, and I did not. I did pick the Bucks because I believed in Brady and all that. But the Saints, kudos to them. They're gonna get hot. They got the win, and hope the momentum continues into the playoffs.
Yeah, I hope so too, because there's a possibility that the Saints and the Buccaneers could meet for a third time. Ryan Dunne joining me here, your Monday morning quarterback, brought to you by Action247.eu, a proud sponsor of Snowman in the Morning. Who is your MVP this year?
Oh man,
because there's only one. There's only one choice for me, and people don't like it when I say there is only one choice. Everybody wants to throw Aaron Rodgers at me. Everybody wants to throw Russell Wilson at me. Everybody wants to throw these other players at me. When I believe the only person that is in competition for most valuable player is Patrick Mahomes. I love Alvin Kamara. Aaron Rodgers is doing good. Russell Wilson is doing good. But you want to talk about the most valuable player is the player that has an impact, not only to me on their team, but on the league as well. That's Patrick Mahomes all over.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Patrick Mahomes at this point. Or hey, why not Ryan Fitzpatrick?
After what happened Saturday night, yeah.
Why not? Guy comes in off the bench almost every game and saving his team. He's probably the MVP for a lot of people. But
yeah,
you're right. I think when you look at around the league, you're right. People will say Rodgers or Wilson, and I think you're looking at the best team in the game right now. And at this point, it is the Chiefs. And the reason why they are the best team in the league is because of Patrick Mahomes.
Period.
The MVP is – I look at the MVP as like you take away the player. How good is the team really? Mm-hmm. How good are they? And those three guys that we named, there's no doubt you take them away. I think all those teams do all suffer.
Right.
All three of those teams. You take away Wilson, you take away Rodgers, and you take away Mahomes. They all suffer. But I do really think you take Mahomes away. I think the team suffers the most in Kansas City because of what he brings and how effective he is for that offense. And just based on the record right now, again, 14-1 with probably going to finish 14-2 because they're probably not going to play their guys the last game of the season. If they do, maybe it's for like a quarter, who knows? But it was going to be Mahomes at this point in the season.
Who's the coach of the year? Because I have a crazy thought on that award, but Ryan Dunne with me here for the Monday morning quarterback session. He's going to be with me twice this week. Check him out, One Dunne at One Dunne Radio online or on Twitter, especially because I love the interaction that he has on Twitter. Who's your coach of the year?
I gotta go with Brian Flores. I think what he's done this year with going back to last year, and the Dolphins were looked at as the start of the season. Were looked at as like arguably the worst team in NFL history. Like people were just throwing them out there saying arguably the worst team. And then early in the year, when I thought it was too early, they put in Tua. Tua leads them on a good winning streak, and I think that Vegas game between the Raiders and the Dolphins the other night showed you that he's not afraid to do what's best for the win. And personally, I don't think benching Tua every single time they're down is good for him mentally. But Flores knows I got to win. And it starts with this team, we're going to make the playoffs. We just have to keep winning. And I put in the guy that gives him the best chance and gives this team the best chance to win. And you see Tua, and I know Tua's supporting him. I know Tua and Fitzpatrick have a great relationship, so it works for them. But Flores is one of these guys that's like, I know what Tua was in college. I know we spent a first-round pick, but we gotta win games because we have a chance here. And Fitzpatrick, and not many coaches I think will really pull the trigger like that. And Flores is overall, I mean, what he's done with his team overall, it makes him. I mean, there's a lot of guys you can put. Like you can put Ron Rivera in there. I don't even know if you want to put Adam Gase. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. But there's a lot of guys you can put in there. But personally, I know you. I don't know who your pick. But I put Brian Flores.
My pick is Kyle Shanahan, and here's why. Yes, they're 6-9. Yes, they're out of the playoff hunt. But this is why I think Kyle Shanahan should be the coach of the year. Littered with injuries to key players, he still had this 49er club competing. Even after they stunk up the joint against Fitzmagic and the Dolphins, until last week, they were in the playoff hunt. They were in it. I mean, they have a ton of problems to solve on offense, but most of that's due to injuries. When you lose a running back the caliber of Raheem Mostert, when you lose a running back caliber of Tevin Coleman, when you lose the quarterback that took you to the Super Bowl and within 6 minutes of title number 6 for San Francisco, and I know everybody around me has been saying the 49ers need to move on from Garoppolo, I will just make this statement. No, they don't. Garoppolo is their guy. Just allow him to get healthy. They're not going to play him the last week of the season. They're not going to play Raheem Mostert the last week of the season, nor Deebo Samuel. Just let this team get healthy. Just give Kyle Shanahan a healthy bunch, have regular OTAs, and watch what happens. That's why I'm picking Shanahan.
That's a good pick, and I think a lot of reasons you bring up the point too is I think the only reason why I don't see that happening is because, like you mentioned earlier, the playoff situation, how they're not making it.
Right.
Because when you look back to last year, I wanted to talk about John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin when you look out of Pittsburgh, because I know Harbaugh ended up with the award, but when you look at what Tomlin did, I think if the Pittsburgh Steelers would have made the playoffs based on their whole situation last year, I think Tomlin would have gotten the Coach of the Year award. Unfortunately, since they didn't make it, it did go to Harbaugh. And I think same thing for the 49ers. If the 49ers would have made the playoffs, no doubt Kyle Shanahan would have to be the Coach of the Year based on everything that you just brought up. And I think, unfortunately, just because they're not in the playoffs, and you're right, that injuries riddled all over that team. And Kyle Shanahan still has them competing. Now, are they getting all the wins as much as they needed to? Unfortunately, no. But as far as competing, no doubt he's making sure they go out and they have a competitive game towards the end of the season. It's just the fact that they're not in the playoffs is going to be a reason why Shanahan's just not going to win this year.
Yeah, they just didn't have enough bodies throughout the year. When you lose Nick Bosa week 2, when you lose Raheem Mostert, when you lose Garoppolo, not once but twice during the season, many people have their theories as to why Garoppolo should be traded back to New England. And that's the hot stove report right now that Garoppolo's heading. No, he's not. All right. Leave him alone, y'all. Okay. Garoppolo is staying put. He's going to live out the rest of his contract in San Francisco. He's going to bring them a couple Super Bowls, and then they're going to extend him. All right. Leave Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers alone. But with today's social media, as you well know, everybody wants to put their rumor out there without having anything based behind it. They want to look at what he did this year and all the injuries and want to quickly think they're going to move on from Garoppolo. No, they're not. I've covered this organization since 1990. I'm pretty familiar with how they operate from the DeBartolo era to now. Garoppolo is going to be the man for San Francisco. Your final thoughts?
I agree. I think we talked about before. I think John Lynch is a pretty loyal guy too. Him and Kyle Shanahan are going to be very loyal to Garoppolo and what he's done. It's funny, and again, we talked about before, before Garoppolo was even a 49er, the 49ers were struggling, right? We remember that the season, and then they trade for him, and they won like 4 straight games in the season, something like that.
Yep.
And then the next year, they had the whole Garoppolo got hurt,
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they didn't have a good season. But look at the year where Garoppolo was healthy. Super Bowl.
Yep.
You made it to the Super Bowl. And now this year, Garoppolo just wasn't there. Where's the situation of the 49ers? Still out of the playoffs. So the value of Garoppolo, I think Shanahan and Lynch both know he's the guy. We are winning when we have him.
Mm-hmm.
When he's just not there, the team is just not the same because of what he brings at the quarterback position. So, yeah, for people to go out there and say Garoppolo is going to end up in New England, he's going to get traded somewhere else, we need to move on from him, understand what your team is without him. And and I know that the team, when San Francisco has all the other pieces healthy, I know it's a very good team, but you need a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the guy. Where else do you why would you want to move on from the guy that when he was starting for you healthy led you to the Super Bowl?
Yep. He
led you to some doesn't make any sense to me.
He led you to some big wins. New Orleans, Green Bay twice, Minnesota in the playoffs, 2 wins at Levi Stadium, and Garoppolo was the man. You know, I could go on and on and on, but I trust Garoppolo and I trust the 49ers. They will be back next year. We're up against the break, but the Monday Morning Quarterback today is brought to you in part by Action247.eu. It's an online sportsbook and casino, a reliable sportsbook with thousands of active players from all around the world. Go to Action247.eu, use the promo code Snowman and get a 50% sign-up bonus with your first deposit. Ryan Dunne joining me here. Check him out online at Dunne Radio. Always a pleasure to have you on, my man. I look forward to having you later in the week.
No problem, Snowman. I'll talk to you then.
Talk to you then. And one final note before we do go to a break. Garoppolo is a great quarterback. Okay, a lot of people think, oh, no, he's not a great quarterback. He's just a passenger along for the ride. Wrong answer. People thought the same thing about Stephen Curry. He's a 3-time champion. I expect the same for Garoppolo. Back after this.
Beamer Tire and Auto Repair, now with 3 locations across the Triad in High Point, Greensboro, and our new location in Kernersville. Beamer Tire and Auto offers full-service auto repair, all tire brands, free alignment checks, oil changes, and more. In Kernersville, check out the no appointment needed Quick Lube shop. Check out their thousands of 5-star ratings via Google and Yelp. They care because they know that you can go anywhere. So try a shop with a beating heart, not a bottom line. Beamer Tire and Auto Repair. Visit us on Facebook or at beamertire.com.
It's time to talk some more Panthers. Yes, more Panthers. That's what I led the show off with, and that's what we're going to discuss now. As Kevin Avery has joined me from the 4-Man Rush. Follow online at the number 4 OURMANRUSH. Kev, how are you, man? Good to talk to you.
Hey, what's going on, bro? How's things going with you?
Everything's good. How was your Christmas?
Blessed. You know, it was good to see, the smiling faces of my mom, my sister, my nephews. That was all for me. So, well, ate good, relaxed. No complaints here.
Yeah, no complaints here either. Had a chance to see a few of my grandkids, like I said. Had a chance to see my son. My daughter's here with me, and wife and I hung out and watched football most of the weekend. So I had a pretty damn good Christmas.
Hey, sounds ideal to me.
All right. Panthers beat Washington 20-13. And let me get your initial thoughts on the game. What did this prove or disprove in your eyes about the Carolina Panthers?
Yeah, well, for me personally, what it proves is that this team, which is led by head coach Matt Rule, is not going along with, ironically, what seems to be a growing trend for Panthers. Some Panther fans calling for the team to tank in order to secure a higher draft pick. This game represented showing that we went on the road to a team who was playing for their playoff, not only playoff indications, but also division title. which, of course, in the NFC East is the only way someone is going to the playoffs is by winning, you know, that ratchet division. But, hey, you know, it is what it is. So it was just the fact that on the road with a team that's got so much to play for, we took the fight to them. We stayed, you know, first half was pretty much, you saw all three phases excel on a high level. Second half, it got bland and it got interesting, particularly when left tackle Trent Scott went out of the game and Mike Schofield moved over to left tackle, and that just gave life to the Redskins defense, which up until then really had few moments to speak of. But overall, the team found a way to win, made plays that it needed to secure the win. I'm glad to see it happen. I'm glad that the players are excited because, you know, this is their livelihood. You know, a lot of fans think because they're millionaires, they're so well off financially that it shouldn't matter whether they win or not. But when you do something that you love, you want to be able to enjoy it. And these players deserve to enjoy winning after having, I think we've had, 7 losses by a score or less this season. So to be able to taste victory again, to be able to sing Sweet Caroline was all well worth it today. So overall, yeah, this team is learning how to build a winning culture under Matt Rule, and I love it.
I love it too. Did Curtis Samuel have a statement game on Sunday, considering he's up for a contract extension?
Yeah, Curtis Samuel essentially just secured his bag for the upcoming season. Now, whether that bag is a Carolina Panthers designer bag or somebody else's, time remains to be seen. But he definitely showed his talent, his versatility, his playmaking ability in all ways today. I'm definitely glad to see it. I just hate that we had to wait till his contract year for him to finally be used properly, because anybody that saw his film at Ohio State saw that he pretty much played very similarly to his way. So why they didn't get transferred over to the NFL? Hey, we have to ask Mike Shula and North Turner about that one. But definitely Joe Brady definitely seemed to who coming in from the college ranks seemed to be like, this is still football, and this is what this man do best. So let me implement it with some NFL twist to it and enjoy. Yeah. So I definitely think that he showed that he's versatile, and it's gonna come down to the Curtis Samuels want to just be a rich man, or does want to be a well-paid man playing in a system that shows him off to be the best. So once we figure out what this new salary cap is going to be, it'll help us determine if we can keep him and Moulton, of course. Yeah, and that was the next place I was going. Who should be top priority, Moulton or Samuel? Oh boy, you're really talking about plucking hairs here. With me, with Paradis being the only player under contract on the offensive line heading into next year, obviously I would give the edge to Moulton as far as priority, because he's developed into I will say a top 10 offensive tackle in this league, both left and right side. Outside of a bad moment, at Green Bay last week, which he rebounded nicely against. Because if I remember, I didn't hear nothing from Montez Sweat today at all. And it seemed like the only damage done was by Chase Young, who had the advantage of playing against Trent Scott, who kept him at bay for the most part till he went hurt. Chase Young only made noise once Schofield moved over to left tackle. But as far as my man Moulton, I think Moulton secured his bag as well. So I think he definitely has a priority. But, just to give you the heads up, the key is the league determining what our 2021 salary cap going to be. I know right now it's projected to drop down to 175, but however, there is recent talk with the owners and the Player Association to see if in 2021, in spite of the revenue loss due to the pandemic, if they can duplicate the same $197 million salary cap. If that takes place, the Panthers will be in good position to actually re-sign both players. Yeah, and I want to see him sign. I want to see him sign both players, and it's something you said just a moment ago. They're learning to build
a good winning culture with Matt Rule and company. I want to see that continue. Big choices to make with the firing of GM Marty Herney last week. What was the good and bad about Herney?
Okay, well, the good with Marty Herney Part 2, because, Panther fans, that's a Part 1 and a Part 2 with Herney. So the good news about Matt Herney Part 2 is that he was able to continue the streak of nailing first-round picks in 2018 with DJ Moore, in 2019 with Brian Burns, and in 2020 with Derrick Brown. Now, even though he was the GM, I like to think that the way the 2020 draft went, Matt Rule pretty much had to say Herney just got the GM title and got credit for it per se. But I'm going to leave that there. I think Herney's job was just to call and let the players know they're about to be drafted. But that's just my own personal take on it.
Right.
Considering how well our draft consists. Because anything after the first round, Marty Herney has very limited success on overall. But, yeah, I think that was good, and I'll give him credit. Even though it didn't work out, I think in the 2018 and 2019, he put the team in a win now situation with free agent signings, players that had it panned out. They on paper looked like they would have helped us, been a winning team, but injuries to Cam Newton, a couple other spots just kind of killed that. So those picks didn't get to work out. Such as the what's his name we got from Tampa Bay defense. God, I can't think of his name. He's on IR right now. But yeah, just just the fact that we went after players that on paper like would have helped, but it just didn't work out. So that's the good of Herney. The bad, poor draft after the first round. Particularly if you look at this 2019 draft, you look at the fact that Greg Litter, who we traded up for to get with Seattle, we traded up 10 spots to get him, this month was a healthy scratch for 3 weeks and then mysteriously went on IR after injuring his ankle in practice.
Right.
Personally, I think Matt Rule's like, get this guy off the field. That softness is allergic to my winning culture. Because how do you injure your ankle holding up a tackling dummy in practice? I have no idea.
Right.
But we just have to speculate on that. But you notice that when injuries happen, we're struggling to find quality players step in. I think you hit on your day 2 and your day 3 picks consistently. And I think that's something that Herney, throughout his career, has not had much success on compared to other, league averages with draft success. So I think that was the bad. Plus, the fact that he continued backloading contracts to cause huge cap hits. For example, the $20 million owed to Kawan Short is because it was restructured. I know a lot of fans like throwing that word around to create stuff. Oh, let's restructure this player's contract. You're pushing that can down the pike, and it comes to bite back in your butt because honestly, Kawan Short's payment was only supposed to be about $13 million, not the $20 million. But we're still going to probably eventually have to eat that dead cap as well, more than likely. But we'll discuss that later on. But yeah, that's just it. First round success, good part. Bad drafting and backloaded contracts, the bad part of Herney Part 2.
Well, do you have any candidates in mind that should be interviewed for the GM job for the Panthers?
Well, with the Panthers, it's a unique situation because under normal circumstances, when a GM comes in, the GM is able to select his coach, the coach that he wants and things of that nature. Well, with Matt Rule, obviously in year 1 of a 7-year contract, that's not the case. So it would have to be someone that, in my opinion, I think has somewhat of a good understanding and that Matt Rule is the guy and is able to work with his ways of thinking and philosophies, because it was mentioned by David Tepper that the coach and the GM has to be more on the same page and have the same cohesion. So, in the 4-man rush, we posted possible GM candidates that have ties that could possibly be potential, general manager candidates, like a guy named Brandon Key from Pittsburgh, who's been there for the last 10 years, which was during the time Tupper was there. He's been a key piece of the Steelers reemerging, with their success. Another guy, can't think of his name off the top of his head, he's the assistant general manager for the Buffalo Bills. He used to be a scout for the Panthers from 2001 to 2008. Went down to the Dolphins from 2008 to 2017, and helped help establish become a director of player personnel there, and also helping with Bean up in Buffalo. And then there was another guy named I think his name was Adam Tucker. Yeah, that's it. He's the 49ers current player of personnel. Matt Rule was his defensive line coach back at UCLA back in 2001, and they stayed in touch over the years since then. So, just something that we just researched and saw possible connections. So people that's going to be able to adapt and to, seem to have a knowledge of, who we are versus a GM that might want to come in and, do things his way.
Kevin Avery joining me here on the program, talking all things Panthers. One final question. Your thoughts on Teddy Bridgewater's performance on Sunday. Did it seem a little uneven to you? And also, what do you think is his future in Carolina?
Okay, as far as Teddy Bridgewater's performance, I would give it a borderline between a C plus and a B minus. Reason being, I saw Teddy make some very good throws, in particularly to Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson. Curtis had a huge day, as we discussed earlier. 5 targets, 5 receptions, 105 yards. Had another 52 yards rushing, including that scintillating 45-yard run. Mm-hmm. Teddy made some good throws when he had time of protection, particularly in the first half. Here, but that second half, when we didn't score any points, it was stale and stagnant. I think he did just enough to help secure the win. Now, did he miss some throws? Yes.
Yeah.
But he also started feeling the pressure a lot more as well, particularly when Clint Scott went off, because, all the sacks that Teddy Bridgewater got in the second half was 4 sacks, was ironically after, our 4th-string left tackle, put emphasis on that, Trent Scott, went out the game with a right shoulder injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on our 4th-string left tackle, but, people want to think, it's all on the quarterback. But overall, I'll just go off and say Teddy Bridgewater had a C-plus game. It was good enough to allow us to secure the win, made some good throws, missed some reads, missed some throws, but hey, that happens with, your average NFL quarterback. As far as his future goes, Teddy Bridgewater will be here next year. I mean, his contract is set up perfect. It's basically a 2-year contract that's salary cap friendly. That's an option for a 3rd. So whether it's this year's draft or next year's draft, if the Panthers decide to draft a quarterback, sit a year behind Teddy, learn behind him, or if Teddy can get a full off season and a normal off season with OTAs, mini camps, and training camp practices, let's see him come back second year in this offense with weapons in the line and see what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely see Teddy Bridgewater finishing out his contract here with the Carolina Panthers.
We will see what happens. That's Kevin Avery, the man in charge, one of the men in charge of the 4-man rush. Follow them online at the number 4 OURMANRUSH. Great information. Great breakdown of Panthers film. He's one of my sources. I'm getting used to the area. He has been absolutely fabulous on this show, and I want to use him more often next year on the program, breaking down the Carolina Panthers. Always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Stay safe out there. Take care, and main thing, keep pounding.
Yep, we got to keep pounding. Headlines are next after this. Let me take this opportunity to thank all of you that have tuned in to our program and that continue to tune into our program as we get you ready for 2021. Normally, Cole Johnson will join me, but he's on the road this morning, so Joshua Jackson is fit enough to talk NBA and to stand in as we close out today's show. Good morning, JJ. Good to have you back on.
Good morning, my friend. Long time no speak, man. How's everything going?
Yeah, man. Everything's good. Getting cranked up for some high school sports here in Carolina, and I'm ready to get back behind the play-by-play mic. You know how bad that itch is. You know how bad that itch is, okay? Especially as long as you and I have been doing it.
Absolutely, man. That itch is when I tell you I can't stand COVID right now. It has taken so many opportunities, but I tell you I'm itching to get behind the mic. So hopefully, hopefully and prayerfully getting to 2021, things can open back up and we can get back to really doing what it is that we both love to do, man.
Absolutely. There may be some opportunities for you here, if things pan out right. So I'll keep you updated on all that's going on with that. But let's talk a little NBA as we look back at Sunday. And the first and probably the only question I'll ask is, what the hell happened in Los Angeles yesterday afternoon?
A beating happened. That's pretty much what that boiled down to. And an absolute beating happened when it's like when the everything is so geared toward, and we've had several discussions about this in the past, about how the NBA and really how sports in general has really geared towards more offense than there is defense. But for a team in the Clippers to only score 30-some-odd points in the first half of a basketball game, I mean, I don't think many middle schools just score just 30-some-odd points in a half of basketball, regardless of the whether or not Kawhi is playing or whatever. That absolutely cannot happen. That in no way, shape, form, or fashion can happen. That is just it's horrible. It's absolutely, and it goes back to those days of reminds you of those days of those horrible Clipper teams that just struggle to do anything. And it's just I'm hoping, just as a basketball fan, that was an aberration, but that was bad. That was absolutely bad yesterday.
It reminds me so much of the Clippers playing at the old sports arena in Los Angeles, and they don't get a sellout crowd until one of the big hoopers come in. Bird, Magic, Jordan, any of those guys. You don't get a sellout until they show up. I mean, I have never seen. And I've covered high school basketball for 20-plus years. I've never seen a halftime score, except maybe once, of 77-27 in 24 minutes. I've never seen that in my life, ever.
Yeah, that absolutely cannot happen. I'm not saying that heads need to roll or anything along those lines.
Right.
Again, like I said before, I hope that it's an aberration. There are some. I'm not making excuses or anything, but it's a weird year, with COVID and that sort of thing, kind of throwing a lot of things out of whack. But to throw it that out of whack, that was pretty bad. I mean, give credit to the Mavs. They played well. Luka Doncic is a hell of a basketball player. But
Luka Doncic is for real, okay? Luka Doncic is for real. Let's just say it.
Absolutely.
Is it possible through the entire Warriors run that the most important player on the roster was actually Klay Thompson? Because people want to put that theory in my face, since I have covered them for the past 4 years, or 6 years rather. People want to put that theory in my face with the Warriors missing Thompson this year because of an injury, that he was the most important player, and they want to say that Warrior dynasty is done. I've been on record, and you've been with me, as saying, not so fast, my friends. And now 2 games into the season, I get the social media blitzkrieg. So let's just throw that question out there.
In retrospect, B, now that I sit there and I think about this, there might be something to that, and I'll tell you why. We've seen how good the Warriors have been, even before Kevin Durant came over and gravy trained to a couple of championships. I will forever say that. I think he absolutely came over and rode the coattails of Steph, of Clay, of Draymond Green to a few championships. I will forever say that, and you can crucify me if you want to. Find me on Twitter at JCJackson904. Let's talk about it. But I think now that, and sitting here and thinking about it, Brian, there may be something to that, because this team is different. This team is different. I think, even with them not having, Kevin Durant, and as great as he is, I think that still would have been a great basketball team. Had you had everyone healthy, had you had a healthy, Klay Thompson, had you had a healthy Draymond Green. You see, Steph Curry is still Steph Curry. But there are some questions that need to be answered with the basketball club.
Yeah.
There are some things that some questions that absolutely need to be answered. I think it was a great story, for them to be able to come really out of nowhere a few years ago to beating LeBron in that first year of that matchup in the NBA Finals, to winning a championship and that sort of thing. But yeah, there's some questions that need to be asked of this Warriors club. There's still some good pieces there, but some things are going to have to happen in order for them to get back to relevance now, because it could be 2 years in a row where you're saying, there's an expectation with the Warriors to be successful. They just built that new arena out in San Francisco, and there are a lot of things that the owners and everyone have done in order to try to get that organization to have long-term sustained success. But there's some questions that got to be answered right now with this Warriors basketball club. I definitely have some concerns.
Yeah, I have some concerns too. No lie, I do have some concerns, but I also know that there's 70 games left in the season. Draymond Green hasn't played yet. James Wiseman is feeling things out, although Wiseman's going to be a beast. I said it first, and I will continue to say it. Now to this problem, and I'm just going to throw the question out there, and I'm going to let you have the floor. Should the Celtics trade for, God help me, James Harden?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think the team that ultimately trades for James Harden is pretty much going to torpedo the team, to be quite honest with you. I think what the Celtics have, they're still young, but they're playing great basketball. I don't think you need a guy like a James Harden on your ball club. I think what they have with Jason Tatum and all those other guys there on that roster, I think they're going to be a competitive team in the Eastern Conference for many, many years to come if they can keep them all together.
Absolutely.
I don't think they need to trade for James Harden. I think James Harden he's a guy that demands the basketball so much, and I think that that kind of torpedoes your basketball team. I think James Harden would be better served going to a team like and maybe my team can be the sacrifice.
Right.
Maybe he can be best served with going to a team like Orlando or something like that, where he can be the focal point of the offense, to be the focal point of your basketball team. But when you bring on a guy like a James Harden, he's a liability defensively, and there are some concerns with that. So I do not think Boston needs to trade for a guy like a James Harden. I think they're fine with it where they are. Maybe add some support pieces or something along those lines when the trade deadline comes around. But I think they're fine. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be competing for Eastern Conference championships and potential NBA championships for several years to come.
Yeah, I think so too. They do not need a piece like James Harden. How about the Atlanta Hawks? Can they contend in the East this year?
I think Atlanta can. I think with what they were able to do in the offseason, bringing Bogdanovich over, and I think Trae Young is only going to get better. I think the kid can absolutely shoot the basketball. I've been impressed with him ever since he was back at Oklahoma. The kid can absolutely shoot the basketball. They've got a lot of great young pieces there. I think they can be a team that can compete for an 8 spot there in the East. I think they're starting to get some expectations there in Atlanta to stop being that kind of cellar-dweller basketball team and begin to move their way back into some sort of, prominence, to be able to be a team that can compete to get into the playoffs and be able to compete eventually for championships and that sort of thing. So maybe they're a couple of years off of being able to really, really compete, but I think they can really be a squad that can battle with the Orlandos and some of those kind of teams battling in that 6, 7, 8 spot to find their way into the playoffs.
The Hornets lose Cody Zeller, their center, to an injury, leaving them thin at that position. Is this era of small ball over in Charlotte?
You know what? I think it can still kind of be around, simply because Charlotte loves to get up and down the basketball floor, and then you go and you draft LaMelo Ball, who I think is going to be a special basketball player there in Charlotte. I think they can still find a way to get by with playing small ball, getting the ball up and down the floor quickly. and doing that sort of thing. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's over yet. But I think they could still be able to get by with playing that small ball. That's gotten them that's brought them small amounts of success.
Final question as we wrap up this Monday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Can we please bring back the Seattle Supersonics?
You know what? We've had several discussions on this in the several years that we've known each other.
Yes.
I think with as I've talked about with you a little while ago, there have been talks in the past couple of days to weeks that Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, has talked more openly about expansion and bringing at least two more teams into the NBA. You know how much I know you have an affinity for the Sonics, and I definitely miss seeing that old green and gold. I miss seeing those great teams that they had with Sean Kemp and Gary Payton and of course Detlef Schrempf and all the great players that they had.
Oh my!
Exactly. The great George Karl coaching those teams and being successful there in the Western Conference and playing for NBA championships. I think with what Seattle is doing now, with them having the expansion of the hockey franchise, the Kraken there in Seattle, renovations being made there to what was then known as Key Arena, now Climate Pledge Arena there in Seattle, with that being renovated and getting ready for the Kraken to open up their season next year in 21-22. I will say within the next 5 to 10 years, don't be surprised if you see Seattle with the basketball team there once again. I think Seattle is a great basketball town. It showed that on several occasions. I still don't know why. I think I kind of get why they moved to Oklahoma City because Seattle was didn't want to build an arena and that sort of thing. But
right.
I think with what they're doing with the renovations they're making there for the hockey team, like I said, don't be surprised in the next 5 to 10 years that Seattle is not back in the NBA.
And they better be named the Supersonics. I don't want it. I don't want any mess out of Adam Silver. If an NBA team back to Seattle, there is only one mascot. There's only one nickname that belongs in Seattle, and that is the Seattle Supersonics. I don't want to hear anything about a name contest. I don't want to hear anything about what should we call this team, because you already know what the answer is. They should be called the Seattle Supersonics, period.
You know what, Brian? You're absolutely right. There really isn't another name to discuss. Maybe there's a few things that the NBA has to work out once they make the announcements and things like that.
Yep.
In terms of getting the name from Oklahoma City back up to Seattle, but I would love to see Seattle make the announcement that Seattle's coming back and they're going to be named the Supersonics. I mean, shoot, you heard a few years ago when when Winnipeg got the
Jets
hockey team back from Atlanta. There were questions of what they were going to be called. And the guy goes up and they announce it at the draft. We're making the draft pick on behalf of the Winnipeg Jets. And I definitely want to see those old nostalgic teams begin to come back. So hopefully they can work something out, announce the team there. And we saw a few years ago with the Hornets. That Charlotte was able to get the Hornets back from New Orleans. So, I certainly hope that they're able to work something out and get Seattle a team again 1 and 2 to absolutely name that team the Supersonics.
They have to be the Supersonics. There is no other name for them. That's Joshua Jackson sitting in on this NBA segment. Follow him at JCJackson904. I'm going to share a microphone with this man this coming season. I'm going to make that happen. Thanks for jumping on, buddy. I appreciate it.
Looking forward to it, my friend. We'll talk soon.
We will indeed talk soon. That'll do it. Tomorrow, Jay Spivey will join me. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. Thursday and Friday, you'll be a best of. And then I'll say Happy New Year. come January 4th. And we got some exciting news to tell you tomorrow. So long, everybody.